Happy Valentine's Day. It is Demonic Fowl, and welcome to a little bit of a special slash kind of story time. Now, story times have been trending for a while, and they kind of have, they kind of blossomed, and they've been all over YouTube. And I figured it's Valentine's Day, and it's my 2-year anniversary with my beloved boyfriend. And I thought it would be a great idea to tell you how I met my boyfriend. Now, if you hadn't watched any of my previous videos where I'm gaming or playing Minecraft, I do mention my boyfriend a lot. And now Oliver and I have been dating, as I said, for 2 years now. But we are also long distant. Although we don't feel long distance, it's kind of that way because number one, he lives in Denmark, and number two, I live here in the States. Now, how I met him is kind of an interesting story. Whenever we meet strangers and they're like, how'd you meet? We end up usually saying just boarding school or just something really quick and simple, because I met my boyfriend online, and this was with the point, I originally met him, started communicating with him when I was 12 years old, and he was 15. But we didn't start dating until I was almost 15. I had 2 weeks, by the way. Birthday's in 2 weeks, but we didn't start dating until I was 14, and he was 17. So there is like a weird period of time. But I thought I'd share the story of how I met him very briefly, very quickly. And do let me know if you'd like to hear some more stories, whether they be quick or whether they be kind of longer. Do let me know in the comments below. So let's start this story. So, Oliver and I met on Minecraft. He and when I was 12, I got a little bit depressed. And this is the sad part of the story. But it ends up being good. But I got depressed. And I quit my sport. And I gained some weight. I had issues, just my social life, even somewhat today. But I had issues with my social life. I had issues with, my family sometimes. And I have issues with my own self-esteem. So I started playing games online, and I joined these communities, or kind of weird communities. But I embraced my character, and I started exploding and being creative with manipulating, the video game Minecraft. I actually played on about 2 different Minecraft servers, and I won't mention them just because one of them I'm banned on still. And the other one I co-founded, but it's like it doesn't matter anymore. It's stupid. And so these servers were role-playing servers. And I used to role-play as a mermaid. I was this purple mermaid, as you will see, a picture that was drawn for me right here. But, I was this purple mermaid named Abbey Oceana. And by the way, if you didn't know, my name's Abbey. So I just took my first name. And then I put Oceana. I put ocean with an A at the end. And then, got it rocking on. And my boyfriend came on the server. I was administrated, and I had, I was running the server. But I was role-playing at the same time. And I was a queen mermaid, not just any. I was the queen, I had minions, I had friends, everyone was in my cult, and they all were jealous until they killed off the species. So, my boyfriend came on the first server, which we will name this server, I don't know, why do I even need to name it? I don't know. Server number 1 was a medieval fantasy role-playing server, which was my first, I guess my second server I ever played on, but my first server that I really got into, and I was dedicated, and I played for like 2 years. Well, more like 1.5 years, but I played for a long time. And he came on there one day, my beautiful boyfriend, and he was like, let's joke around. These people are stupid. Let's just joke. And so he came over and he started messing with me. And he got into the role-playing game. And so he came onto my Little Mermaid Island, as I will describe this, you know, with me, Abbey Oceana, rocking out in my throne with my minions on the side. He came in and he he started role-playing and just, you know, was trying to, my minions were slaying him and killing him, and he came back and he's like, I want to serve you, and yada yada. And that's originally how I met him, is he did one little small role play, which ended up getting him to play more and more and more. He got into it because of his interactions with me. And so as time went on, he and I weren't the closest friends, but he made other friends, and I had made other friends, and so we kind of just kept going, but not really close. And so later, I ended up getting banned from that server once I started a new one, because it's always drama. There's always drama in servers. And so I left a server, the first server, and I went to the second server, which I co-founded with a friend of mine, or an ex-friend of mine. And this friend of mine, we started this whole thing, and I invited some people over. I'm like, hey, come play with me. It's fun, it's cool, it's gonna be a blast. And you could still play in the other, I'm not taking you away from that. And they actually banned me for advertising. How am I still offended by this? It's been 2-3 years. And so I got banned from that for advertising or asking my friends to come play with me on this little thing I started, because... And so I'm on this new server and I invite him over, my lovely Oliver. My lovely Oliver. And he and I, we kind of started hanging out, but not really. He still had his friends on the server, so he would play somewhat, but I was still hanging out with my other friends, and eventually drama started, and my relations with my real social life, my, you know, internet friends, my own body, and you know, we can go into more detail later. But with everything else going on, I was getting sad. And I was alone because the friends I was hanging out with, the person who I founded the second server with, he and I kind of stopped getting along. And our friendship went down the hole, and my boyfriend kind of came out of the blue. And I actually got friend zoned. My boyfriend and I started talking to him, but I wasn't really talking to him that much. And so I go up to him, you know, and this other friend I have, you know, he and I are just going down the hole. And so I'm like, Oliver, will you be, I know you're really hot. And you're a really nice guy, and I'd like to date you so I can get to know you better, because 13-year-old me, 14-year-old me was like, it's really cute. It's because I've never dated anyone. I mean, I did once and I kind of catfished him, but that's a whole nother story time. He and I were, you know, I'm like, I want to date you so I can get to know you better. And he's like, stop, wait a minute. I was really kind of trying to see if I can get my friend, who he and I weren't getting along anymore, who co-founded the server, I was trying to get him to come back and hang out with me some more if I was dating my boyfriend currently. And that's terrible. But, and so what he says to me as he friend zones me, he's like, hey, you don't have to date me to be my friend and to get to know me. Become my friend first and we'll see what happens. And I did become his friend. We became best friends, and over the next 3 months we got closer and closer and closer. And then on February 9th, 2014, I told him, baby, Oliver, you're smoking. And I think it'd be great if you'd be my Valentine. And he texted me back, he's like, sure. Later he told me he didn't think I was actually serious about him being my true Valentine, but whatever. And so then on Valentine's Day, I told him, "Hey, Valentine," he's like, "You were serious about that?" And I told him, "Yeah, I can actually put some pictures of that close by if you want to see some of that." But he then he asked me out, and then we set some nice conditions of our relationship, as we were kind of weird people at the time. And then we started dating, and that's how we met. Now, I'm kind of embarrassed by my story. So this is the second half of my little story time. I went through that very quickly because, number one, it's a simple story, but it's always uncomfortable to explain it to, friends, family. If someone who I haven't told yet. I met my boyfriend online, and he's older than me, and he and I was 14 when we started dating, and I may have been 14 for like 2 weeks, but still I was 14 and he was 17, and I always find it slightly uncomfortable because I love that boy so much. It's just really silly to say I met him online, because there are stereotypes with meeting people online, and you get the red flags of predators, and what's even worse is I video chatted before he did, but he didn't video chat with me until like the first month of our relationship. And so I had no idea what he looked like when we started dating. And I was so, infatuated, and I really started liking him, that we kind of got closer over time. And then we met up in person, our relationship really just launched into perfection. So to end things here, I hope you have a fantastic Valentine's Day. And if you're alone, call up one of your friends maybe, or put a comment in the description. I'll say something to you. But because I'm technically alone this Valentine's Day, because I'm physically alone. Isn't that right? Yeah. Give me a like, favorite, subscribe, do all sorts of things if you enjoyed this. Leave me a comment in the comments below. I always say description, but it's comments. If you would like to see maybe a video of my first kiss story, or maybe how I physically met Oliver and I. And this is Abby, signing out. Peace.